Hi, welcome to the Pursuit of Truth. Sorry if you can hear the wind in the background. I think Storm Franklin is on its way. So I wanted to talk about the Ukrainian-Russian thing again, and I've mentioned it previously. I saw Liz Truss and Kamala Harris, the UK and US respectively, talking about Russia. And yeah, I don't want Russia to invade anyone. I'm not pro-Russian, that's not what I'm saying. I just find it hypocritical when they talk about false pretext in a way of entering the war, when both countries have done this. If we look at the last, Iraq and Afghanistan, the false pretext was the weapons of mass destruction, which had never ever been found, and they were probably never there. That bit of intelligence. And that's not the only thing. How did America get into the Second World War? The false pretext there. The sinking, was it the Lusitania by Britain to make it look like it was Germany or Japan? I can't remember which one it is. It's something around there. Please go fact check that for me. But yeah, there's been many wars that have been maybe had very dubious beginnings. And, sometimes you can orchestrate them not by, military might. There can be pressure you put on people, undue pressure that cannot be realistically met. Expecting them to do things like with Saddam Hussein when he had to show them around his all his weapons and stuff. To expect a person to do that is a little bit sort of. In a normal people, yeah, that wouldn't be a problem. But in this world that we live within, where everyone's so proud and suspicious and, that kind of thing, obviously that pushed him, how he, the first Iraq war was around, I believe, some intelligence that sort of gave him the impression that if he invaded, which part of it that used to be part of Iraq that isn't anymore, I can't remember what the name of that place is. It's escaped me. To start with a Q. Anyway, and he invaded that, and that's what started the first Iraq war. So there's lots of ways if you want this war. Like everyone knows that George Bush wanted to be in Iraq and Afghanistan, probably for the oil or to destabilize the Middle East. I don't know what the real goal was there. It wasn't for the people. It wasn't for democracy, because they didn't leave the country in a democratic state, and they didn't rebuild the country like, say, in the Second World War, Germany was rebuilt. They left it in almost the same, if not worse, position than it was under a dictator, which is a shameful thing. And that exit, of course, everyone saw the exit from Afghanistan, treating people like animals, not preparing properly when they had a year to do it, and just preparing in the last 2 weeks made it look so chaotic, even though it was their own way, their own poor planning that led to that, and maybe ultimately those deaths with that bomb. So yeah, America and UK sort of making out there the white cowboys, howdy ma'am, and it is a little bit. How do you? And I know Russia have said about the spy envoys can't be trusted since Iraq and Afghanistan because of that faulty document of the weapons of mass destruction. But how can you trust? How can you take seriously people when they're doing the same things? It's a bit hypocritical. So. Yeah, I get they're trying to stop an incursion into Ukraine. I don't want that. Well, I don't want people to need to do that. If you lived in a world that I think we could inhabit, where we didn't have to carve up bits of land and say, this is mine, this is yours, this is all of ours, because that's truly the truth. It was some men hundreds of years back who carved up selfishly and gave bits here and there, as if they could do that, as if they owned the very land that we found ourselves upon. Anyway, I know a lot of people aren't going to be able to get around that kind of concept, but I'm not trying to be pro-Russian. I know some of these sentiments may come across that. It just seems hypocritical of the West sort of making out that they're somehow better than Russia, whereas they're exactly the same. They're all as bad as each other, and they will all do whatever they need to do, and they will create pretexts, and they will create arguments, and they will use media, and they will do all these things to make you believe what is being done is for the right of the country or for the right of a certain amount of people. why are we getting involved in Ukraine? Is it because of the gas? Is it because of don't want to get Russia to be powerful? Because of NATO? All these things. There's lots of countries that have been at war. Somalian war, Ethiopian wars. There's lots of countries that are at war that the West never gets involved in. Active wars that are happening right at this minute. If you Googled it, I'm sure there's loads of wars that are happening, but the West doesn't get involved in them. And it's not a NATO question and all that kind of thing. It's because it only is a problem. They only get involved in these things, where the country is either smaller than them or will never attack, because that's like a bully mentality, isn't it? They won't ever go for China. They talk about the human rights there, but they won't ever go there because they've got a billion army. Or a million, whatever it is. So they always pick, they'll always fight for countries that have a lot less than, like Iraq, Afghanistan, Vietnam, Syria, and that's the way it is. Take care, easy, God bless, and peace.